Hey, Donna Schwartz here from the Everything Saxophone podcast, and I'm here with Jeppe Zacho, who's from Denmark, and he came out with a brand new album called Introducing Jeppe Zacho. Really great stuff on this album, and I'm going to start off by saying this. When I listened to this album a couple of months ago, and then I listened to it again last night, and it reminded me of the Wynton Marsalis album Black Coats from the Underground. Now, for me, when that came out in the 80s, that was it's such an incredible album, and I listened to it so much, like I burned like the first part in my brain, ba-ba-dum-da ba-da-ba-da, ba-ba-da-ba boop-ba-ba-da-ba-da-bum, that like first opening theme. And as I'm listening to Jeppe's album, I'm like, I'm hearing a little bit of that kind of style in there. And I thought that was so cool. And we were talking about that for a second. Um, and Jeppe was saying that, yeah, he's definitely heard that album for sure. But anyway, I just had to get that out to start with. Welcome to the podcast, Jeppe.
Thank you so much. Thank you. And hello.
Yeah. Now, so yeah, you know what? Why not? Let's start off this way. So, we had talked about the Wynton's album and all that kind of thing. Yes, you play saxophone. He's a trumpet player. That's okay. I mean, on your album, Jonas Du, who plays trumpet, is did such an incredible job. We were talking about this too. You guys are in like sync. You're in total sync together. It's incredible. It sounds like one voice, you know? Um, but the lines that you came up with for this album, for these songs and stuff like that, what was your inspiration for this album?
For the whole album, I th I don't actually really know. I think I had to like just make an album, and it was I have some ideas I have been sitting there in the drawers for like many years, and then I I I did some new stuff and I took some old stuff, and sometimes I combined the two of those things. Just I had like a break for 10 years while and I didn't really compose anything.
Wow.
And then I took like I got really into it, and then and then yeah, it was like, but I never actually did an album with my stuff. So I just had to like I also had to bring some old stuff with me, because yeah, I've been composing for like many years, but never did an album. So it's a mix of different things, and I had to like, and I was like in the process, I had like feelings. I have to have like a yeah, like a, what do you say, like a common sound through the album, but then at some point I just like, no, I just have to like do the songs, and then the yeah, then it will turn out as it goes, actually. So I didn't think so much about it, actually. Yeah, I thought about it, but then I decided to not think about
Okay.
it.
No, got it. Okay, because
Yeah,
it sounds like you started off maybe with like an inspiration or a theme, and but then you realized that the theme may have been kind of holding you back a little bit, and so you said, "Let me
yeah,
just do this." Um,
yeah. Are you talking about only the first song, or here, or the whole album? What
uh,
did you mean?
yeah,
Is
no, I was thinking the whole album, and then yeah,
Yeah,
we could dive into some of the songs for sure.
yeah, yeah. I think the whole album has like fingers out to different sides of me, I think. So yeah.
Yeah, I could see that in listening to it too, for sure. And um, I know from your background, we're going to definitely deep dive into your background, but I know that you've performed with a lot of other people. You've been performing for how long now?
Uh yeah, 20 25 years or something like that.
Wow.
Like,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay. You look like you're very
20
young.
20. Yeah, but I started really early, actually. I started as yeah, I started as a teenager, actually, playing small gigs, so it has been like, yeah, it has been almost my entire life. I have been like playing, yeah, but I never did an album with my own stuff before now.
Okay. Well, let me ask you this question then. you kind of said like you kind of had to. Did someone say to you, "Okay, Yeppe, come on, get the album out," or was it your own like motivation to get the album out?
It was definitely my own motivation. I think, yeah, I think when, yeah, I had a hard time like believing in that my own stuff would be solid enough to go out there. I had like, no, let me just be like the hired gun for other stuff. It's yeah, and I also had to provide for my family. And I had an idea about that. I had to yeah, play the money gigs and stuff like that. So I didn't put so much time into my own career, I think. I did like, yeah. But then eventually I just thought I have to do it. I have always wanted to do it, and so it has to be now. Yeah.
Got it. Got it. And now meaning like the album was pretty much completed in 2022, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. So when we went to the studio, I didn't know like what should come out of this, and then in the process we were like, hey, this is actually good, and maybe I should try to ask around with the labels and stuff like that, and then I realized that is a fairly long process to get the music out, and so actually the whole music was done before I had an agreement with a label. So
Yeah, you talked about, okay, so let's talk about this. You talked that it's a long process. So when did you when did you know you had all the songs for the album?
I had like almost all the songs, and I had a lot of ideas. I had ideas enough so that I could do enough songs. But then we booked the studio, and then I had to like, in that period of planning, I like, okay, I decided what to bring on the record. So we are also actually did some other stuff that didn't make the record, but yeah,
Okay, and the other musicians on the record. So you knew these guys. You I guess you had been performing with them in various ensembles, all that kind of stuff, right?
yeah,
And then you rehearsed before the record, you know, they gave them the charts or whatever. You had the ideas about what you wanted to do, and then
yeah.
as you're, in the studio, how many days or hours or whatever, did it take to get all the tracks out for the album?
We had the 2 days in the studio, but and then we had like 3 weeks of rehearsals, like one or two rehearsals per week, so 6 rehearsals or something like that. Yeah, and so we did actually, yeah, we didn't play it that much, and I think we also tried it on a small gig. Yeah, I think so. We did that,
That's smart.
some of the songs, but yeah, more or less something like that. Can't remember now. So long ago.
Well, let me ask you this question. So, you all the charts are yours, right? All the songs are
Yes.
yours. Okay.
Yeah.
So when you first met with the people with the musicians on the album, like, you handed them charts and stuff like that. Are you the type of person that, like, for the rhythm section, do you write out everything, or do you leave it open to interpretation in terms of, you know, not the groove necessarily, but I guess other aspects. Like, do you allow the drummer certain freedoms? The you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I think I kind of have an idea of all the roles in the band. I think it, and especially the bass and the drums,
Okay.
they are like, always when I have like a melody or something, I always I imagine what will the vibe be like, you know, and then I tend to go really into the bass lines always. So I actually had it like oh, here's another song with a bass groove, and it's a thing for me to like. Sometimes I always start with the bass groove with the song. So I also try to really like in the composing phase. I really try to like, okay, I have to write a song that doesn't start with the bass line, and so so. But the drums, I think I know the drummer really well, and we talk a lot about like, and I come to him and I say like, I think I was thinking about like, yeah, that the drums should do like this. Is it totally stupid? And then he says, yeah, it is, or like, yeah, or he says like, no, yeah, let's try it, and then and then he modifies it like into what he wants to do, and I think that's how it should be. Like he's the he's the mastermind, so I just let him play it the way he wants, actually.
This okay, so this is interesting. I think you're one of the first people on the podcast where when I talk about, people where they're composing their songs, like what do they think of first? You know what I mean? And I think you're the first
Mm-hmm.
person that talks about like the bass and, bass lines and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
Number one, have you ever played the other instruments like bass, like drums and stuff?
Yeah, I actually started out playing the drums before I played the
Okay.
the saxophone, and I also played a lot of percussion. I traveled to Cuba for a couple of times, and I have studied the Cuban folklore, especially the bata drums, if you know of those, like the yeah the drums you play like this. You have them on the lap. There are three drums. So I yeah, I studied them for quite some time as a teenager. I
Got it.
met this percussion player who totally knew all about that, and then I went with him to Cuba. So so that's also how I have the love for Cuban music, and I had to bring it also on the album. So I think a lot about rhythms. I think a lot about the the rhythmic fundament, or what you say, in the music. I always hear that first. It's like, yeah. So I
Yeah,
had to like, yeah.
I thought so. I was going to ask about that. And yeah, let's go down that road for a second. And this is gonna also lead maybe a little bit to your start and stuff like that. But I was curious because there was something yeah, El Bravado, where it talks about in the press notes and stuff like that your love for Cuba. And I'm thinking that's really interesting. So can you talk a little bit about how that started? You said you were a teenager. You said you started off by playing drums.
Yeah. Yeah. We had like, actually, we have some really great Cuban musicians living in Copenhagen. So I had the chance to like, when I'm from the countryside. When I grew up in the countryside, and then when I had the time, I took the train and the bus to Copenhagen, and took several hours to get there. And then in the weekends, I went there to go to this place where these guys just hanged out, like a lot of jazz musicians and also actually like pop musicians, and like it's a small environment in the city, where they practiced, and then also these Cuban guys, they came there, and I was allowed to sit in there and play with them, and then I actually went to Cuba with one of these guys, and lived with his family, and studied, and I got around to study this music with some of the greatest percussion players over there, and it was really like, yeah, it was really lucky. And yeah, and it kind of took root in me. It defines a lot of my yeah my music, and my approach to also other music. When I play, I always like hear this. when you have the triplets, I always hear like the polyrhythmic things going on in that music because I played it before I played anything else. So it's like kind of fundamental.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, and I was thinking to myself, so you stayed with, with this guy with a Cuban family when you were a teenager. I'm just wondering what your
Yeah,
parents thought, like,
yeah. I was 17. Yeah, so I was allowed to travel. That was my first actually travel I did on my own. But then, and 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 yeah, I went there. It was crazy. Yeah,
wow,
but
wow.
yeah, but they allowed me. They supported me because they could feel that this was something that I really liked. So yeah, I went there for 2 months and just practiced drums all day.
Okay, even though at that time you were playing saxophone, so did you bring your
Yeah,
saxophone with you or
I
no?
brought it, yeah, but I didn't actually play serious saxophone at that point. My father is a saxophone player, so it was kind of I grew up playing saxophone just like a bit for fun, and then but I really fell in love with the drums. So it was first later on I I began to like play the play the saxophone on gigs and stuff like that. Although before that it was drums and percussion.
I'm curious though, what made you okay, why didn't you continue staying on the drums for, gigging and stuff?
Yeah, I think I I I I didn't like yeah I didn't practice the drum kit that much, so I wasn't good enough like in the when I got older. I think I was like more into the congas and the bass drums and the percussion and stuff like that, and I realized that it's also like a bit much of the same, and I would like to play an instrument with notes, So
Okay.
and I grew up listening to the tenor saxophone, and I played the alto at that point, and I was like, I really liked the sound of my father's saxophone, so I had the yeah I started taking it more serious, and then I moved away from home, and then I moved to Copenhagen, and then I started to take some classes there, and then eventually I got into the conservatory in the that is the main school in Copenhagen for rhythmic music, and I did a master there in music, and then on the saxophone.
Okay,
Yeah, so
let's dive then let's dive deeper into this. So, um your dad played saxophone, tenor saxophone, I'm assuming.
yeah,
Okay. So when you're growing up, when did you start playing any instrument? What age?
uh, I think it was in sixth grade or something.
Okay.
I moved to another school, and they had like this. They had I started with the drums in like I think I was only in second or third grade or something. I started playing the drum kit,
Okay.
and we had this a little band in the with some of my friends, playing playing rock music. Yeah. So
Cool.
and then I moved to another school, and they had like this school band, school orchestra, and it was like it was um what how do you say it when you have to like it was obligated that you had to
Yeah.
participate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a part of the school. Yeah,
Curriculum.
uh, yeah, exactly. And then and then I yeah, the drum was available, and I had to do like this, and
Oh, the
and I
bass
was like,
drum.
yeah, but there was a lot of available seats in the reed section, and I was like, and then I got home, and then at that point I was skating a lot, and I was like, yeah, they forced me to play an instrument in the school, and then I asked my father, isn't it right that you have an old clarinet? in the basement. And then he said, "Yeah, you can borrow that, but isn't it right that you can also play the saxophone in the band?" And then yeah, you can do that. I think there's a couple of guys playing the saxophone, and then he actually bought a saxophone for me right away.
Wow.
So yeah, he bought a bought an alto saxophone, and I was like, okay, thank you. And then I started playing the saxophone, and we had actually a really cool teacher, and he was like all into the saxophone, and my father is a jazz musician, and the teacher there was like, yeah, your father know about the jazz, and we should definitely play some jazz music as well. And then yeah, I think we never actually did it in the orchestra, but we had a little quintet and stuff like that where we tried to play some jazz in the school. It was really nice.
And this is
Yeah,
this is like around sixth, seventh grade, something like that?
yeah, seventh, eighth grade or something. Yeah, I started in the orchestra, and then it developed a bit. And then at this point, I that was also when I started to take up the Cuban music, the percussion playing, and so it was like the saxophone was a bit on the side, but then I just fell in love with all the Cuban rhythms, and it was all I thought about at that point. So yeah, and then when I was 17, I quit school actually, and I traveled to Cuba. And then when I came home, I took like we have something there. We have something called højskole. You can't translate it into English actually, but it's a Danish thing that you can after you as grown up you can go to this half year course in different schools and delve into like different topics. Like if you love photography or something, you can go on this, and then you just yeah, and I went to like this music school where yeah, where like 100 young people just play music together. So and then I took this saxophone a bit more up there and started to yeah, and then I met a good friend of mine there. He's from Copenhagen, and then I moved to Copenhagen and started playing with him. He's a bass player, and then we played together for many years because he told me I have this band. We play traditional jazz music, but we play gigs all the time. And then and then he took me into this band, and then we have been like playing like 150 gigs per year, like in 20 years or something.
Wow, that's
So
that's that's
yeah,
actually really good because it's depending on in the US, depending on where you live, like New York or Los Angeles, or certain New Orleans, that kind of thing, certain cities, probably even Boston and stuff like that.
yeah,
You can play a lot of traditional jazz gigs,
yeah.
not as much as in the past. So that's really kind of interesting. But wait, I got to get back to something. You said at 17 you quit school. Do you mean like school ended, you graduated, or you actually quit school?
Actually quit. Yeah, my parents allowed me to quit,
Wow.
yeah, yeah, focus focus on the on the Cuban rhythms. Yeah,
Wow. Okay. So now let
yeah,
me ask this question then. That type of school that you went to after when you came back from Cuba. So
yeah,
did you finish your high school degree? Like we call that a GED here, a general
yeah.
equivalency degree and stuff. Did you do anything like that? No.
No,
Okay. Wow.
no.
All right.
Yeah, actually, yeah, and I was like, um, what is it? Yeah, I think it compares to the high school. I was actually almost done with that, but I didn't make the final degree. I quit before that and went to Cuba. So
Wow.
yeah, and my parents actually supported that.
That's very
Yeah,
rare. It's very
yeah,
rare. So that's why I'm
yeah.
kind of like
I don't
shocked.
know. I'm not sure it was a good idea, but they did it anyway. But yeah, but yeah, I think it was all I wanted. So I think they couldn't force me to stay any longer. So yeah.
Oh, but okay, but let me ask this question then. How did that and I can't pronounce the name of the conservatory that you went to, but how did that affect in the States, like you have to have a high school, degree, diploma, before you can go into college and stuff. So
Mm.
didn't that affect your getting into conservatory?
No, not here in Denmark. You have like you don't need any papers to. You just need to pass and yeah, an exam to get in. Actually, you have to. Yeah, there's a really you have to qualify uh, in all different kinds of tests. And at that time, it was like in yeah, you go to the first test, and if you pass that, you go to the next test, and then goes on, and then when you get in, then you are there, and
Wow.
yeah,
Okay. All right. So that's really interesting. So, okay. Um, you saxophone was more for fun, when you're playing
yeah,
at school and stuff like that. But the cool thing, you had a good teacher in like sixth, seventh, eighth grade and stuff like that who was into jazz. So you got exposed to that, although you were exposed to it at home, with your dad and
mm.
stuff, but you got exposed to it in school. You had playing opportunities there. Was this the same teacher in high school also, or no?
Yeah, but it was yeah, he was the music teacher in the school, yeah, the one there actually. So but so yeah, and the music we had there was just like orchestra. We didn't have like didn't have a saxophone teacher as a solo teacher, but I got that on my own later on. So when I moved to Copenhagen, I took classes with all the cool dudes in town. It was like, yeah. So and then also my obviously my father could provide me with a great deal of knowledge into the thing. So yeah.
That's what I was going to ask. So when he bought you the alto, did he give you any guidance? I'm just thinking like embouchure and stuff like that. Did he give you any guidance with regard to, playing the saxophone? Did you, I don't want to say take lessons from him necessarily, but do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, we did that a lot actually. We talked a lot about it, and he was like he was kind of really self-taught, and he just like he just he didn't like to put too much, too many rules about it. It was like we just played together, and he was like, yeah, just maybe you can try to relax a little bit. He could say something like that, and he couldn't. Yeah, if I had questions, then he would. But I think mostly he just taught me standards on the ear. It was just the way he did it, and he taught me themes like by ear, and then he played he when I finally got around to know the song, then he would like begin to play around it and play, yeah, and it was a cool way to learn it actually.
Okay, yeah, this is fascinating to me. So what you're saying is he wasn't you mentioned like rules, strictness, all that kind of thing. I mean, did you practice scales? Did you do, your typical tone exercises? You did those types of things.
Yeah, but not that much. I would think that was maybe the thing I lacked, because I didn't bother to really learn the yeah the engine works, like I couldn't like concentrate for long. I just wanted to like make music. It was really hard for me to put the hours into it. I think it was so boring when I was a kid to practice scales. I couldn't make any music out of it. It was first later on that I found out how to do it in a way that was fun. Yeah.
Do you think, okay, I'm curious. Do you think because you also you started on drums, your love for the drums, do you think that had a part to it? And meaning in the sense that with drums, yes, there's rudiments and all that kind of thing, but I'm
Yeah.
just wondering like the influence of the drums onto your saxophone playing where how do I want to word this? a lot of times when it comes to like rhythm section instruments, they'll and I played a little guitar, so a lot of times you learn by ear, like here's the strings, here's the notes, all that kind of thing. But then you start right away, like by ear, you start right away
Mm.
like learning songs by ear. And do you think like with the drums, obviously it's got to be by ear, but do you think that some of that influenced you in terms of saxophone, in terms of the way you wanted to approach saxophone?
Yeah, maybe, but I think I did it because it was the only way I could. I couldn't concentrate, as I said before. Like, even though my father could say to me, because if I was frustrated about, I can't play in this key, or I can't like get this to sound good, or something like that. Then he would like, yeah, but you have to learn these chord progressions, And then I tried to like da dee da da
Okay.
da da da, and then I was boring, and then I couldn't do it. It was like, yeah, it was so. I can remember it so clear. I just got tired right away. It was like, yeah, and then yeah, so it was really an obstacle for me to learn the chords properly, and learn the scales, and it was years later that I got around to do that. So yeah,
But what's interesting though? You um you started off, it sounds like you started off mostly by ear, right?
yeah,
Everything by ear. When did you
definitely, yeah,
when did you start looking at music, sheet music and stuff?
yeah. I grew up playing sheet music in the orchestra in the school. I started playing that way. So I started playing notes and sheet music. So, but of course it was not so advanced. But then when I went into it was first when I went into the conservatory. Actually, I really like, okay, I have to like learn this because I can't read anything fast. So I had to learn it. I just had to sit down and learn it. And I was actually also kicked out of a big band because I couldn't read well enough back in the days. But yeah, but then I had to like learn from it.
Yeah, yeah, no, for sure. And
Yeah.
I'm curious also, so your dad taught you like traditional standards and stuff like that. Do you happen to remember the first song that he taught you?
Ah, yeah, I think it was Mo Better Blues, I think.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
That's cool.
yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah,
And
yeah.
um okay, and your dad, so your dad made a living playing, traditional jazz and stuff like that?
Yeah, actually he was more into modern jazz, like yeah,
Okay.
traditional modern jazz, but yeah, he was definitely, but also he also played traditional music in his youth, I think, because there was like an audience for it. So I
Right.
think that was the thing. And actually it was fun that the same thing happened to me, that I met this guy at this half year school I talked to you about. Um, yeah, it's like, yeah, and he was like, yeah, we play a lot of gigs, and what is the music? And at that point I listened to Weather Report and stuff like that, and didn't think one thought about traditional music. But then I had to start listening to Louis Armstrong and stuff like that, and and try to learn some of these songs, and it was actually really cool, and I actually grew to love it. And then, but with the band there, we had some years playing traditional jazz, and then we moved on to play more like New Orleans funk music, and that we did that for like 15, 20 years, and I
Oh,
still play with them. So that was that. Yeah, that is the band I played mostly with this guy from the school I talked about. Yeah. Do it make sense? Does it make sense?
Yeah. No, this is so
Yeah.
interesting to me. This is really interesting. And what was I going to say with this? Because this is going to lead to this is going to go back to the new album, and there was something that piqued my interest too. Yeah, let me lead into it this way. So there was another teacher that had a big influence on you, Christina von Bulow, right?
Yes.
And
Yeah.
but there was something where around that time, the school that you were in, and again, I can't pronounce it, 'cause but you
The yeah
uh,
the
around
Rhythmic Music Conservatory. Yeah.
okay, there was something else. It was a hard name to pronounce, but it was around that time where there was more um the music that was played was like more free jazz rock, like that kind of thing. And so I'm just thinking
Yeah.
of the connection there.
Yeah. It was just the class I was in, the they everybody at that time was like it was not hip to play jazz, you know. Most of the guys playing and the guys playing trumpets or the guys playing saxophone, they also kind of had this also either they played like also played the guitar in a band, or they also or you should have a laptop making electronical music. Like it wasn't enough just playing on your instrument. It was like you also have to like adapt to all kinds of stuff, and that was oh or I guess I thought that. So I didn't have the confidence into like really just go into jazz music. But then at some point, Christina she came in there, and it was I was supposed to have her as a teacher, and it was just so like it was yeah she just took all of that away, you know, just like yeah she just showed me that another side of it. I think she just showed a love for music, just totally without any bullshit. You know, it was so beautiful. Yeah, it was really.
Okay, let's dive into this. So, like, she showed you, showed her love of music, all that kind of thing. So she was the one that started to get you interested in, some of the traditional jazz, getting that background.
Yeah, and just like just playing the saxophone, you know, just that was just the thing she taught, the thing she know. It was like just and she was so bound in security at some point, and it was the that was just the right thing for me. It was so nice to just okay to get confident in just playing, you know, just playing. And when I talk about it now, it's like it's feels so stupid that you just can't play, you know, because all kinds of thoughts are going on. But yeah, she was a big help in that thing. Yeah. I don't know if it makes sense.
Yeah, let me dive into this a little bit more. So, I think what I'm getting from this, I could be wrong. Um, you have a rich background when you think about it, starting up with drums and then, your father's a jazz musician and then you take up saxophone like around 6th grade and such like that. You had a good influence in school because your teacher was, interested in the saxophone, but also interested in jazz. You played in the little, yes, you had an orchestra, but you played a little quintet for a little bit, all that kind of thing. It was fun, but you really got into the Cuban rhythms, and it's all about rhythms, right? And you got into that. Your parents allowed you to at 17 to go to Cuba for a couple of months, which is incredible. And then you went to this half year school, and then you started to really get into saxophone and all that kind of thing. But it wasn't like it wasn't like you were shredding Michael Brecker. It was more like just playing like some of the popular music of the time and all that kind of thing. And
Yeah.
I could see that too because again, like the influence for you, it's the influence of I'm going to say rhythm section instruments, but it's the influence of the drums. It has a huge part in your life for sure. There's no question about that. And like how you were learning that and that kind of thing. But then there you just kind of alluded to this. There were thoughts in your head about say quote unquote a real saxophone player, and that jazz requires being like a real saxophone player with a certain amount of skills, and maybe that you felt that you weren't at that level, and that kind of was in your head and stuff like that. Am I right about that?
Yeah, yeah, maybe something like that. I don't think I have the words for it. It was just like a lack of self-confidence, I think. It was like, yeah, too 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 critical to just like, yeah, be where I was, you know. It was difficult. But then, yeah, but then I ran into Christina.
Yeah, and then she changed things, and then what she did
Yeah.
it sounds like um she probably started to give you that foundation, maybe that you weren't ready for, way back.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe so, yeah.
And what kind of things did she do? I'm really curious. What kind of like approaches or exercises, what kind of things, if you could remember, that she did, to build your confidence and stuff like that?
Yeah, but it was actually fun because she actually did a little, yeah, kind of the same thing as my father did. You know, we just played tunes, you know, and but then she was like, she had some good exercises on the tunes to like playing music while practicing, you know, and that really did it for me. Like, okay, yeah, it's it's fun because it sounds good, and then it just like, yeah, then yeah, it's I don't, I can't explain it. It was just like, and then yeah,
All right, well, let me ask this question. So you said she gave you like good exercises on the tunes. So like think of one tune, and like, what were some of the exercises that she gave you, if you could remember?
yeah, I think, yeah, we played like all the things you are, you know, and then
Okay.
and then just like, yeah, she just talked about the guidelines, you know. That's the huge thing for her. She she learns she always learns the theme first, and then she learns the guideline after, you know, the guidelines. And then she works on the chords, you know. She has always the guidelines in as a second theme going on, you know. And that was, for me, it was totally new at that point. It was like just to improvise over like this other melody in the tune, you know.
Okay, let's talk about
So
that for a second. So you're saying guidelines. Can you clarify what that means for people that are listening?
yeah, you can you take the third and the seventh in every chord, you know, and then just go to the nearest one. Yeah, it's so simple actually. But then and then you decide, because it eventually it will go down, go down, go down, you know. So you decide when to jump up. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. So this is
Uh,
something though that you she went to taught you like your dad. This is so interesting. Taught you by ear, I'm assuming,
yeah.
the melodies and that kind of thing. And then
Yeah, but yeah, no, we actually we took just a standard that I knew
okay.
pretty good, and then she asked me, do you know the guidelines? And I was like, the guidelines, yeah, yeah, you know, like the, yeah, and I had heard it before, you know, and it was like, but she was like, yeah, but you really have to know them. So then she wrote them down, like, and then you decide to learn this way, and then just wrote it down really clear. So so I was like, and then actually the song on that is called the Bulow's Way. Um, and so that was actually some lines that we worked on in back in the days. Yeah, and they kind of stuck in my head because I practiced it so much with her. So so every time I took it up again, I put something new on it, and then eventually it came down to that melody. Um, so it's based on the guidelines. Actually, that's that melody. It's based on the guidelines in the chords.
That's
Um,
really cool. And okay, so then let me ask this question. That approach that she gave you, it was kind of again like going back to what your father kind of started, but then expanding upon that. Is that how you approach learning songs now?
yeah, more or less. Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think I have come more thorough that I really like to learn songs. I like to learn singing them. I like to learn playing the chords on the piano. I like to learn to play it in different keys. I really like to really go into it. And yeah, and also learn different changes on and stuff like that. To yeah, I think I have become much more like narrow in the what can you do. Yeah, also because I'm a teacher now in a music school where I teach kids to play, and so yeah, I think I have just developed many new ways to do it. Yeah, so
Okay, and I was going to ask also, so from what I read, I think it's been since 2008, right? You've been teaching in a particular music school. Uh,
yeah,
are you teaching the ways that you've been taught from Christina?
yeah, yeah. Actually, and I actually do it with with kids that are really new to playing. I think uh, it has a really good meaning and in a way to as much as possible to learn to hear the music. It's yeah, so it's ear based. Um, yeah, yeah. Sorry, I can't explain it all properly.
Well, let me ask
Uh,
this question. So it's people, they're fairly new to music. They're learning by ear first.
yeah,
And what kind of, first of all, how old are they, and what kind of songs are you doing, that kind of thing?
yeah, but it's kind of for example, I have let me answer. They are like from 8 years to 20 or something. So the whole spectrum.
Wow.
Um, and then yeah, and then yeah, I think I started. For example, I played a lot of blues with them
Mm,
when they only know like three notes. Then why not make it into a blues?
yeah,
And I play the boogie boogie piano, and then they just play the guideline on every chord, and then they get it in to the system from the beginning.
that's
Yeah,
awesome.
I think yeah,
Yeah, you could start improv. People don't believe this. It's so interesting. You could, even if you just know three notes that are in a row, G, A, and B. I mean, you could start
yeah,
improvising. You know.
yeah, yeah. And actually, they can hear that B should be B flat sometimes, and that's really funny because if they learn it like for half a year that you play it every time they come, like it's B on the yeah on the one chord, and then it's B flat on the fourth chord, and then yeah, so it's yeah, because they can hear it. We have the daily blues. We just call it the daily blues when they come. So we just start playing the blues when they come. It's
Wow.
yeah, and then when they have been there some couple of then they when they advance, they we play blues in different keys with different themes. I use a lot of riffs they learn by ear. Like we have riff number one and riff number two, and then they learn it in different keys with the so they also learn to transpose really really early in the yeah, and it's really good for them to like okay, it sounds the same way, and on the horn, different places on the horn. It's also really good, I think.
And it also eliminates um fear of certain keys, you know?
Yeah, 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 exactly. Yeah, when they got more get more advanced, it's definitely good to to try those keys out. Yeah.
Yeah, let me ask something. So, a couple of questions. Are you just teaching saxophone?
Yeah, I also have a couple of clarinet students as well. I play the clarinet also.
Got it,
So
got it. Okay, so it's going to be woodwinds and stuff. And
yeah.
also, what was the question I was going to ask? With the oh yeah, okay. So they're learning this stuff by ear. That's like kind of like call and response in a certain respect. It's really calling and echoing. Um, when do they start actually reading and going to reading?
Also from the beginning, actually. Also everything we do, I write it down, and they got it on pay and they have it on paper as well. And yeah, we I think it's really good to have the to learn it from the beginning. It's yeah, it's even though that they don't read, they just have it, and then they learn it by ear, and then eventually they connect it more and more.
Make the connection.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
And they hear the style too. That's the thing. They hear the style of it.
yeah,
Yeah, really important. That's very cool. And it's almost like I'm thinking to myself, you're giving these kids, you're making it interesting for them from the beginning, and you're giving these kids some of the things that you didn't have in a sense because it bored you, you know.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think it's important to like somebody takes your hand and then hey, let's do it together. Okay, now let's see if we can go the whole circle around. You're just playing like 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like, can we do that? And then, yeah, we did it. And then they it's actually yeah, it's and I yeah, I maybe because I wasn't able to do that. I didn't have the knowledge of it. So I think it's important to like take them in the hand and then to make it fun. Yeah,
Absolutely. All right, cool. Well, now I'm going to go a different direction. I know
yeah.
your dad had, was kind of a mentor in a sense. Your teacher, Christina von Bulow, was a mentor. Who
Hmm.
were some of your heroes, people that you loved listening to on the saxophone?
Ah, ah, a bunch of stuff, a bunch of people. It's I think, yeah, actually, I think I actually, I think when when I first I heard Hand Jive with John Scofield, with Eddie Harris, when I
Okay.
heard him play on that record, I was like, okay, that's just tenor saxophone in the most cool way, it was like, yeah. And then it was, I think that was around when I decided to go with the saxophone there, I think. But then I I I have listened a lot to Coltrane, of course, and all the giants, and Wayne Shorter as well,
Okay, so all right.
and Sonny Rollins, of course.
Okay, yeah.
I think I learned. I think the best teacher is Rollins, to practice his solos. It's just everything is there. It's just yeah, and
Okay,
it's edible. You just can't stop when you first start. It's
yeah, yeah. Okay, let me dive into that for a second. So, great influences and that kind of thing. So it wasn't, it wasn't like a Charlie Parker or, people before him. So it was more like Eddie Harris, right? John Coltrane, Sonny Rollins and stuff.
yeah.
When did you start transcribing? Did you ever start transcribing solos?
Yeah, I in my early days I didn't have the patience to do it. But then later on I did it. I have done it really. I have done it a lot. But I think it was in the conservatory. I actually really I had a teacher there, Hans Ulrich, a Danish really good saxophone player. He's and he just told me that you gotta learn moment's notice. You gotta learn the solo there, and then you gotta like yeah learn to to play that song. So and it was really crazy for me to learn that song because it's so, yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah.
just so, yeah, you really have to think in licks to play that song, and that was his way of teaching. And it also, I did a lot of work on that, but it didn't get to me the same way as Christina's way did. So yeah, it's but then when I yeah I when I transcribed that solo, it was like, okay, it's really, I also figured out how beneficial it is. Like, you just get everything, it's the best practice, I think. Yeah.
If you don't mind my asking, let me ask this question. You mentioned that Hans's way, it was good, it was interesting, but it didn't stick as much as Christina's way, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit about why do you feel that is?
I think, yeah, I just think that it was maybe, yeah, and it's also maybe not totally true, but because I think it sticks in the long run. I think I really got some knowledge um, about what to do in a way that I still use. So it's like, I can always, I think, when I run into like limitations, and I can't play on this chord, or I played, um, yeah, or something that bothers me. I often think about the you should listen to Hans. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So it's I think it's in that way it really sticks, because it's an ongoing process.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
just being like, free in every key and every chord, and yeah.
so in a sense that the way I'm kind of understanding this, with with Christina, you guide tones, guidelines, all that kind of thing. Um,
Mhm.
but then with Hans, you were doing more transcriptions and all that kind of stuff, seeing what other people did, so you don't have to
Mhm.
reinvent the wheel
Mhm.
necessarily, and getting
Yeah.
the more of the vocabulary in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very precise. Yeah.
Got it. Cool. Okay. Awesome. All right. So now, um, one question I know people are going to have, especially when they listen to this podcast, and I'm going to encourage people to listen to the audio also, because what I like to do in the introduction, I like to play, pieces in the background of people's albums and stuff like that. So I'm going to be playing some of these tunes in the background and featuring certain spots. They're going to want to know about your equipment and all that kind of thing. You have great
Yeah.
tone, great tone. Your tone is so solid, full range, all that kind of thing. And
Thank
they're
you.
definitely going to be very curious about your equipment.
Yeah. Yeah. So, yeah, ask away.
Okay, so yeah, so
Yeah.
what's your setup on the tenor? So like
Yeah.
what's your horn, your mouthpiece, your reeds, all that kind of thing.
I have a Mark 6 saxophone. It's like
Okay.
this. It's a 5 digit,
Oh wow.
uh,
Okay.
75,000, and it's actually my father's saxophone. I inherited
Oh,
this one.
cool.
So, and then I play this, the Bergonzi Slant Supreme from Mouthpiece Cafe. You
As-
know the It's yeah, the Mouthpiece Cafe in New York. They have this, copy of, Jerry Bergonzi's, 7-star, uh, Slant Supreme.
Oh
I don't know
wow.
so much about it. I just bought it for like, yeah, 15 years ago or something, and then I just played it, and it's really all round. It can play like, you can get it to do whatever you want. I think it's hard rubber, and it just works. So I can really recommend it for, like, if you're not into trying out hundreds of mouthpieces. It's really just all round. It just works. Yeah.
Can we talk about that for a second in terms of okay, so you've been using that mouthpiece for 15 years. Um,
Yeah.
what, let's see, were you using, before that, were you using any kind of metal mouthpieces based on I'm thinking about the type of music that you played and stuff like that.
Yeah, I always wanted to like to get my hands on and try a nice metal mouthpiece, but I never got around to do it actually. So I think I'm too lazy to get into it, you know. But I still think I have it like I out there that I have to try. I have to try something else. So and so yeah, I'm just like yeah. I always think that I'm the problem, you know, and I should just get it to work, you know. So so yeah. So I just never get out of the shed, you know.
Okay, no,
It's
actually, I don't see it as a problem. I see it, you found your mouthpiece. There's no reason to, there's no
no
reason to, experiment unless you want to experiment or whatever, but you found
yeah
your mouthpiece, which is great,
yeah
and it's interesting. So how did you, I'm not familiar with the Mouthpiece Cafe. So, how did you
ah
come upon that?
I think it was something that people talked about at the moment. It was I think they were some of the first uh, company that were able to 3D scan the mouthpieces and make a proper copy of
Wow. Okay.
the of but and then I also bought one for my alto. I bought like a copy of a Maya 6, um, and it also works fairly well, I think. Many alto players, they ask, because I don't play the alto so much. Every time I play the alto, they say, "What mouthpiece are you playing?" So, and I'm like, "Yeah, it's just this 3D scan." but it's yeah, it's really good. It's really good. They make good mouthpieces, and they have good reviews and stuff like that. So I just bought it because I think if it I bought this one because I think if it's Begance's mouthpiece, it has to be good, right? It's yeah. So yeah, but I think I have it like when I get around to 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 have a lot of time on my hands, then I should definitely try some mouthpieces at some point.
I'm really curious about this. You're living in Copenhagen, right?
Yes,
So what is, when it comes to like wanting to try out new equipment, I mean, everybody knows about sax.co.uk, but the thing
yeah.
is you don't want to have to go to another country. So what's the scene like in terms of music stores and being able to try out new horns, new equipment and that kind of thing? I'm just curious.
Yeah, it's fairly limited actually because years ago we had like several competing stores and they had like you could go to different places to try out what they had, you know, but now we only have one, but it's also really good. It's called IK Gottfried. um they have like several vintage horns, like they have quite many actually, and they have like, so you can go in there and you can compare like the newest Selmer saxophone to a Mark 6 and to a, and then yeah, but then because we have, the country is so little, so the guys here, um we have a couple of guys that collect saxophones, you know, so you when you are, so everybody knows who to call, you know, what do you have these days, what do you, and then we have this Facebook page, this group where everybody is, and then you can write, for example, I'm looking into a new soprano, and then I ask there, what can you recommend, and what do you have, and how is the how is vintage compared to a new, and stuff like that, and then everybody is really helpful, and people love to help each other out, I think, in the environment. So we have a really good environment in Denmark, I
Cool.
think.
That's
Yeah.
cool. And the shame of it, the cool part is that, like in the States, we also have Facebook pages too, and people selling instruments and all that kind of thing.
Hmm. Yeah.
And the cool part, you have a good music store. But yeah, the same thing in the US. And actually, at the time that we're filming this, one of the major stores, Sam Ash, who,
Yeah.
yeah, I taught one of those kids actually when I was teaching public school. One of the
I bought a
Ashes.
saxophone there,
Oh,
actually.
okay.
Yeah, in New York, I bought a Cannonball alto there. Yeah,
Yeah,
they're
well,
kind of rare now. So,
yeah, well, here's the thing. So Sam Ash is closing that New York store, and
ah,
it's closing like 18 stores across the country, and
yeah,
it's a huge hit. It's a huge loss.
yeah,
Um, I know over the past few years they've been carrying less pro equipment. Like they'd have horns, some horns and stuff, but you had to go to certain Sam Ashes in order to get the real pro stuff and the mouthpieces and that kind of thing. But
yeah,
it's a lot of us are, grew up going to Sam Ash, and we're kind of devastated by this because
yeah.
they're not able to compete like with online sales and that kind of thing. And it's sad. It
No,
really is sad
yeah,
because the one thing that you miss out on, um, you need to try things out, And I'm originally from New York and Long Island, and there's another great store called Papa's Music. Their online store is called Wiener Music, which is great for woodwinds. I mean, great bargains, all that kind of thing. So they have the physical store, Papa's Music, in Mineola,
yeah,
and then the online component of that as well. But I was able to go there and try out. I'd book a room and I'd try out like 9 mouthpieces and stuff like that. And I'd have a full hour to do that. It was great. It's hard now. It's really hard. And
yeah.
I was just curious, in Europe, I know about Sax.co, I know about Thoman's music and stuff. Um, so I was wondering if it's the same kind of thing going on there, and it sounds like it is too.
Yeah, yeah, and it is actually, yeah, it is a big problem. I think also I sent all of my students to the store so they can look at the saxophones. The first thing I say that they should get a new neck strap for Christmas, and then
Oh
go
yeah.
in there and buy it. And it's like so they also like come in a little bit, gets yeah, the feeling about it. It's like it's really important to have a store to go to and buy the reeds. Go in. I also say that they should go in there and buy the reeds, and not order them online. Go in there and look at the stuff and just to talk with the guys there. And look at and it's a cool store because it's behind the counter. It's all glass, and you can see all the repair guys sitting in there, and all the technicians sitting in there, and with the saxophones taken apart. And it's such a huge thing, to just and the smell of key oil and brass. It's just so nice to come in there. I still really enjoy so much to go in there, and just hang out and look at and they are really good to like get all the new mouthpieces home, and they also have a really nice room that you can go in, and a practice room where you can try out stuff, horns and
That's good.
mouthpieces. So they kind of carries the vibe still, but they are really threatened with the market threatens them too. So it's kind of hard.
Yeah, and what's interesting is you're talking about this too. The music stores also provide community. Like I remember the Sam Ash in Carl Place on in Long Island. I think that's still staying open, which is great. Um, but you'd go in there, and I remember, and after a while they kind of stopped doing this. But there was a bulletin board, and you
Yeah,
could put your cards there. You could if you're younger, you could see cards, to get teachers and that kind of thing. People would put up gig notices. I found one of my mentors that way. He had a
yeah,
flyer up, and I ripped off the sheet, and I found him and all that kind of thing. And just going in the back part of the store where they had the wind section and all that kind of thing, and just looking through the sheet music, the supplies. um and just seeing all these types of things, I really, I miss that. I mean, we have something out here, Long Beach Woodwinds. We do have, well, the Sam Ash in Hollywood is closing, which is just shocking because they also have a lot of pro stuff there too, but it's just crazy. It just really is.
Yeah.
But it's that sense of community. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's a sense of
Yeah.
community. And I remember in New York, I didn't participate in this, but they would have it's sort of like a pseudo jam session and stuff like that, where people could come in. It was mostly rhythm section
Yeah.
instruments as opposed to horns, but
Mm.
I'm just saying this, anybody that owns a store or has a store in their community,
Mm.
if that store can make more community, um, I think that would help keep them open, because if they could do like not just like music lessons, but host like a jam session once a week, and even if people pay $5 to go in to help keep the store going, I think that would be a
Yeah.
great thing. It would be great for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah, I actually was just thinking about that right now. I'm writing that down, because I just
Yeah.
think it's something that as these get less and less, I mean, if you're living in a major city, chances are you're gonna have something, something there. But for people that are not in a major city, or living in a suburb and they have to go, like hours to get to a store, um, it's frustrating, and
Yeah.
you don't know what to try out. Sometimes it's not about the look of the instrument, but you just have to talk to somebody and get the feel and try things out. It's kind of frustrating that this is happening. And it's like I said, a lot of us are so a lot of me and my New York friends were like, oh my God, I can't believe Sam Ash. It's been an
Yeah.
institution. Not that it's totally closing, but maybe they're revamping. I don't know, but still, it's just a shame.
Mm. Yeah. Totally.
Yeah, for sure. So getting back to equipment also, reeds. What kind of reeds do you use?
Yeah. Just the blue Van Doren, just the
Oh,
number
really?
three.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. It's I've tried a lot of other kinds of reeds, but I always go back to the reliable
Yeah.
blue number three. Yeah.
Yeah, tried and true. And the reason why I'm like a lot of jazz musicians I know, they're usually like on the Javas, like it's the
Yeah.
green Java, the red Java and stuff like
Mm.
that. So you like that little bit of like, resistance and stuff like that in the reed,
Yeah.
it sounds like.
Yeah. 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 They are resistant, yes, and they also just vibrates in the for me they like they I can feel the whole reed. I think when I the Javas, I feel the tip vibrate much more than the rest of the reed. It's like the tip is like more thinner than, in a way. Yeah, I don't know if it makes sense, but
Yeah.
it's really, I really need to feel that the whole read is in action, like it's it's a yeah, but I'm really not an expert on how it works, and it's just the feel of it, I think.
Yeah, no, but that's a great way of describing that too, for sure. All right, so now we got into the equipment because I know people wanted to know about that. Let me ask you this question. So your album is now out. Okay, it's
Yes.
2024. Are you going to be touring? I don't know if you can because you're teaching, but are you going to be touring
Yeah,
to promote it?
I have a yeah, I have a yeah, we definitely work on it. So we did some gigs here in the Winter Jazz Festival in Copenhagen. We did 4 gigs there, and now I'm just trying to book as much as I can. So we start in Denmark, I think, and then yeah, we'll see how it goes. It's a really tough work to get it out there. I think we play small clubs. There are like certain places that we always can get a gig here and then, but it doesn't like provide for the for the bigger scene. I think it's yeah, I think it's and we don't have, like in Denmark, we don't have like the tradition for working with bookers in for jazz. It's like it's certain clubs, they won't even talk to a booker because then they need to pay him a fee. So it's like, yeah, and it's really new to me to do this kind of work. So now I'm just like really just sending emails all the time and getting no response, and yeah, I've learned to get everything in order with the electronic press kit and everything, and getting everything going properly. So I hope that it will pay off at some point. One bigger club in Denmark has replied positive back to me right now. So
Great.
we are looking at, but they are filled up until next year. So
Wow. Wow.
it's
Okay.
a tough job, yeah. So hopefully it will go, but it's a long run. But we are already looking into recording next album in the fall.
I was
So
going to ask you. Okay. All right.
yeah,
Cool. All right. So you have more, and not, of course, I'm sure you have more songs and stuff that didn't make this cut for the album, but yeah. So
yeah,
talk to us about this.
yeah. It has definitely been like really inspiring for me just to really, yeah, just to okay, it actually works to make music and record it. It's totally, yeah, been a positive experience. So I'm just working on it all the time now. Just all the time writing small ideas and yeah, getting more tunes. And so yeah, I'm definitely gonna make more music. It's the first one was really um, in many ways an experiment that I wasn't sure about the outcome, but it has been really like, yeah, it's been, yeah. So it's a good process.
Do you do you find you're looking around Denmark right now because your school year, like, are you off in the summertime? I'm just thinking, are you thinking of trying to hit up jazz festivals and going to other countries and stuff like that?
Yes, absolutely. And I also have my brother-in-law. He lives in Japan, so I have him working on some connections over there. I would love to go to Japan playing there,
Wow.
so to play there. But yeah, as we speak, I haven't had the luck to land anything yet. But it's definitely something that I'm working on. And then, of course, to go to the States would be awesome. But yeah, it's difficult. But yeah.
Yeah, and and here's the thing too, traveling, would you bring your band or like a lot of people that I know, they would just make the connections and have a band, that's in certain cities and stuff.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think yeah, maybe I could bring one or two, or just come by myself. Just I'm up for anything in that way. I have a friend that went to Japan and he did it like that. He just made another band there with and played his songs, and that's also fun. I think it's yeah, something I'm totally open for.
It
So
could also, and actually, it could also, yeah, they're different players, so you're going to get a different perspective too. And
yeah,
it could bring the music further, and it could also give you more inspiration for more ideas as well for other compositions too.
yeah,
Which just
yeah,
thinking off the top of my head.
totally.
Have you
Yeah.
thought about going back to Cuba?
Yes, very much. Yeah, I have thought about it many times, and yeah, and then yeah, the whole traveling thing with the pandemic and everything was like, yeah. So, but before that, we also talked about just going there, just to see it again. Has been many years now. So, but and I also would like to go there with my wife and with my kids. It's like really would be fun. And
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking, and this goes full circle back to your album too. What struck me was how rhythmic your playing is, and how you, like I mentioned this in the very beginning, you and the trumpeter Jonas do, where you're so in sync. It sounds like one person, but it's just so in the pocket. Your lines. And that's why it just really reminded me of the Wynton Marsalis album. It just it just I can't describe it. It's hard to describe in English, and that's why, again, please, those of you that are watching the video, that's awesome. Thank you. Listen also to the audio for the podcast, in my introduction, stuff like that. Just listen to the album, check it out. It's really good. It's a really good album. It reminds me of that style of playing, but more modern now. You know what I mean? It's just more modern, and I just think about the interplay of rhythms and how, you know, how that affects your playing, having that drumming background, how that has affected how you approach improvising and playing the saxophone.
Yeah, it 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 most definitely has. I think it couldn't yeah, it couldn't be otherwise. I think it's yeah, it's yeah, it's a just yeah, it's another it's just another part of it, I think. Just think and hear rhythms just as an as another part of the music. I think it's natural. It's yeah, and it's of course it's when you put notes into it, it's more it, it's yeah, it's challenging to when you hear a rhythm and then you want to play a melody on top of it. Yeah, it's or put it into a melody. It just gets really difficult, right? It's yeah, you also know it. It's like it's one thing to be able to drum it. It's another thing to play it with notes, right?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. But you did it, and
Yeah.
it's a great album. Congratulations.
Thanks.
And
Thank you.
listen, yep, thank you so much. Thank you so much for your time and for being here on the Everything Saxophone
It's my
podcast.
pleasure. Thank you. Thank you
Awesome.
so much.
And for everybody, again, check the show notes. We're going to have links to his website. And yeah, actually, you know what? I should say this last question. How can people find you online, and where can they buy the album online?
The album is on Bandcamp.
Got it.
You can get it there, both the CD and also the vinyl. Looks like this.
Awesome. Cool.
Yeah, you can get it there, and of course it's on all the streaming services as well. Yeah,
And your website, what is it?
it's Jeppe Zacho .dk.
Got it. Awesome.
Yeah, but it's
Cool.
in English.
Yes, I noticed that I did the translation.
Yeah,
You could translate to English. So listen, Jeppe, thank you again so much for your time.
thank you. It's my pleasure. Thank you so much, Donna.